Hi everybody, it's Christina Mascari from Pretty Distressed. In today's video, I'm going to be making over this MCM dresser with texture. I'm going to be using paint to create a linen grass cloth look. This is such a cool technique. You guys are going to love it. So if you want to see this makeover, just keep watching. This is the dresser I'm going to be working on today. I love the shape and style of this, but it is in rough condition. The finish on here is definitely failing, so I'm not going to feel bad painting this one. If you have been following along on Instagram, this is my furniture flip challenge piece that I'm doing in conjunction with the Makers Challenge and Do It Yourself magazine I have been hosting, and lots of you have been playing along. And this year's theme is texture, so I reached out to the queen of texture, Miss Courtney at Steel Birch Studios, to try to attempt her gorgeous linen finish that she has perfected to a T. And the good news is Courtney just launched her own YouTube channel, and I know she's going to be sharing this technique on her channel soon. So make sure you're subscribed. I'm also going to include her Venmo and her Instagram down below if you guys want to show her some love. To start off with, I need a clean piece, so I have removed the hardware and set that aside to use for later. And then I'm using some White Lightning TSP soap to clean off all the grime and dirt. And then I'm going to use some clean water to rinse all that residue away. Okay, now I'm ready to sand, and I'm going to be starting with this 80 grit sanding screen on my Surf Prep sander because I'm going to strip the finish off these two bottom boards, the base of the piece. I'm going to use these as natural wood, so I'm stripping all that finish back, and then the body is going to be the faux linen finish. Once I got those boards stripped, I'm just grabbing a 120 sandpaper to smooth them out. And lastly, I'm grabbing one of my fine foam abrasives and I'm going to scuff sand the entire body. This is going to help with the adhesion of my primer and my paint. Structurally, this piece was in really good shape. I only had a few gouges that I needed to repair, and this DAP wood filler, this professional strength, is becoming one of my favorites because it dries and is ready to sand in 15 minutes. To save some time today, I'm going to be spraying my primer with a spray gun. So I'm setting up my Wagner pop-up tent in my studio, and I'm wiping back all my dust from my scuff sanding. And like I mentioned, I want the base to have a raw wood look, so I'm going to tape that off to protect it from the primer. I'm using the HomeRite Super Finish Max sprayer to spray my primer today. I'm going to be using a Zinsser Bullseye 123 primer. I just used the sprayer for the first time in last week's video, so if you want to see all my thoughts on it, I will link it for you guys. For this linen look, you want to start with a really bright white base to help with the contrast of the paint that you're putting on. So I'm going to be using a primer to seal my piece to help with the adhesion of my paint, and then it's also going to act as my white base for this linen look. Like you always see me do when I'm working with a sprayer, I'm just testing out this primer with the sprayer on a board before I take it to my piece. I ended up doing 3 coats of primer on here to get a nice solid white base. You can recoat this primer after 1 hour of dry time. This is what it looked like after 3 coats, so now I'm ready to add my faux finish on top of here. Here are all the items you're going to need to get this linen finish. I have an enamel paint, I have a glazing medium, I have a wiry nylon brush, and I also have a roller to apply my paint. The paint I'm using is a Wise Owl 1 Hour Enamel in the color Charleston Green. This is one of the paints that Courtney recommends, and I had it in stock, so win-win. She told me she likes to do a 1-to-1 ratio, but likes to add just a little bit more of the glazing medium, so that's what I did, and then mixed it up really well. When you do this technique, you want to work in small sections at a time because the paint will dry really fast. So I'm starting by doing each of the individual drawers. I grabbed a chip brush so I can get in any of the little hard to reach places, and then I'm going to roll my mixed up paint all onto the drawer. You want to try to get this on pretty evenly, and I found it was best not to put a ton of paint on there. I did a couple of practice boards, and the more you glob it up with paint, the harder it is to get that linen look with the brush, which you will see in a minute. So just try to get this as even as you can. Once you get your paint on, you're going to grab your wiry brush and start making these vertical lines on there. Keep a t-shirt or cloth nearby and keep wiping off that paint off your brush. Once you're done with your vertical lines, then you're going to make long horizontal lines across. Try to keep your strokes as straight as possible. This is really when it starts coming to life and you see that linen look that you're making by doing the cross sections like this. After I finished all my horizontal strokes, then I'm going to go back and do vertical ones again. And then this is where you make it your own. You can keep doing this process as long as your paint is wet and keep making more texture and more lines. It's really up to you how far you want to take it. My best advice coming from a first timer here is try to be consistent, but don't try to be a perfectionist. It's going to have some irregularities. Just kind of go with the flow and try to tame that inner perfectionist. This process actually goes really fast, and because I'm using that 1 hour enamel, I'm not going to have to seal this. This paint dries to a really hard, durable finish. I also painted the inside of my frame because you're going to be able to see that when I put the drawers back in. And now comes the real truth, the things that I wish I would have done better. I was so nervous about getting this paint on the top that I didn't really get that even of a finish. So when I'm done with the top, it kind of is streaky and looks a little bit like a watermelon rind. So I'll know for next time to just not freak out so much about the paint drying on me, and I'll pay attention to making that finish more even. So at this point I was like, yes, I'm done. Let's move on to the base, and I removed the tape. And here's another place where I went astray. For some reason I thought this drawer looked lighter than the other ones, and here on video it does not look lighter, so I don't know what I was thinking, but I tried to fix it and added more paint and it just made a mess, you guys. It looked really dark. I tried to fix it with sandpaper and it just looks so different from the rest of the pieces. I had to pull it out and completely start over on that drawer. I sanded it down, reprimed it, and did the whole process again. And now it looks fine. So my advice to you there is just leave it alone. Okay, so now I'm prepping the hardware. I really wanted to keep the hardware original to this piece because it matches so well, but the finish on it was completely failing. So I sanded it off, cleaned it up, and I'm going to be spraying some Krylon Fusion Metallic Gold on here. Once they were dry, I installed them back on the piece and included all new screws. Okay, the end is almost near, you guys. I'm removing these bottom two drawers and I am going to whitewash the bottom two boards of the base here. The boards were just looking kind of orange to me and I wanted them more natural and whitewashed so they weren't fighting with the green paint as much. I really wanted to have a whitewashed look, so I'm grabbing my Country Chic paint in the color Pop the Bubbly. I've done a dresser in this before that I absolutely love, so I know this is going to be the perfect look for this. I'm watering the paint down a little bit so this will act more like a stain. This is a really easy technique. I'm just going to brush this on the whole board and wipe it back with a clean lint-free cloth. And that is looking so much better, just what I wanted. And so I'm going to do this to the other board and then I'm done, you guys. Just to remind you, here is what I started off with. And here is my beautiful faux linen textured furniture flip challenge piece. This was such a fun technique to try. I definitely want to try it out again. I know I can make some improvements next time. And I know Courtney's coming out with her own tutorial soon, so I can't wait to watch that and get more tips. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this look and if you'd like to try it out yourself. I'll be back next week with another project. Thanks for being here, you guys, and I will see you next time.